Thank you, Danny. Appreciate your time, all of you.
Oh,
hey
hey
I don't
guys.
mean to interrupt you, but I think we have Tyler. I appreciate you joining our availability, man, but I think you might be on the wrong. You might have entered the wrong media availability session.
Yeah, I don't think that he did. I'd like to announce to the media that today I would like to formally announce Tyler Reddick is part of a future member of the 2311 and Toyota Racing family starting in 2024. So, hi, buddy.
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
Thanks.
Surprise?
Surprise.
Scoot in a little more there, guys, so we can get you together. There you go. Come together
more.
Closer.
All right. All right, we're already rubbing fenders. I've had enough of that.
Well, obviously a little bit of a surprise for everybody that joined us today. So Denny, I guess if you want to maybe repeat it, I think everybody was in shock. So maybe your news, why we actually brought everybody together today.
Yeah, it's exciting. Obviously, Tyler will be joining the 2311 and Toyota family starting in 2024. This is these conversations started a long time ago, just very casual in the sense of really Tyler reaching out when we started the team, saying, love what you're doing. Like, it looks like you guys are really, pushing the limits and doing things a little differently, and it's good to see. And it's from that point, you just start some conversations, and obviously I've believed in his talents for a very long time. And after a while, I realized that, I started asking those kind of important questions about his future. And then I asked, obviously, permission from the OEM that can I pursue this individual? And they wholeheartedly agreed that this is a good direction for us.
Perfect. Thanks,
Is that
Denny.
about it? Yeah, that's pretty good. It covers it pretty good, yeah.
So Tyler, I think we should let you take the floor. Your thoughts on this announcement and joining 2311 and Toyota for the 2024 season.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Just everything that Denny and Steve and Dave, getting to speak with them and getting to know everyone here, the amount that they believe in what I do and what I can bring to the table is very exciting. And I'm really excited about this opportunity that's coming ahead in 2024. The team is very young, but it's been going in a very positive direction from day one. It's been obvious, and I'm really excited to get it out there, and that it's in front of everybody, and that 2311 go to work, myself and RCR can go back to work and continue to be as competitive as possible, but also know that the future is set in stone. I know what lies ahead, and very excited to be able to announce this and know what lies ahead for me in 2311.
Perfect. Steve or David, I will let one of you, if you'd like to say a few words before we go back to media questions, which have probably shifted a bit in the last few minutes.
After you, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Look, this is, I think, a couple of things from my perspective. Number one, we've said from the beginning that 2311 wants to be a different kind of race team, and that's a forward-thinking team. It's an aggressive team. It's an innovative team, and we're doing that with this identification by Danny and Michael and David and everybody with Tyler's talent. Today is about, in my mind, a couple of T's. Well, it's 3 T's, right? It's Tyler, it's his talent, and then it's about timing. The reason why we're doing this today is so you all know the ton of moving parts on the business side to get ready that need to be worked on for a season. We had 4.5 months to get ready for the 21 season with the 23. We probably had 5.5 months to get ready for the 22 season with the 45. We now have 18 months to get ready for how we bring Tyler into the 2311 family in 2024. So we will have no answers to any questions about what those details look like, because literally they start now. And we've got the window to talk to current partners, potential partners, and understand what that looks like. We're in such a good place for the remainder of this year and next year with our current lineup, our current partners, and all they do for us, that this is truly about a longer window to get ready for 2024 and the talent that he brings to this team to continue that 5-year path Denny talks about to get to a championship level organization.
David, I'll let you close out remarks, and then we'll head back to questions.
Yeah, so from Toyota's perspective, I talk all the time about the challenge of week to week versus the focus on the horizon and planning forward and being strategic. This announcement today is all about that strategic perspective. So we're delighted to have Tyler in our future. In addition to the 3 T's that Steve called out, I'll add a C, and that's character. And one thing, whether you know Tyler or you just watch him, how he holds himself, how he races, he's a good dude, and he's got the character that meshes well with us, and we're honored and flattered, that he would consider being a part of our team, and this is a direct reflection on Michael, Denny, Steve, the 2311 organization being well ahead of schedule, and it reflects our long-term commitment to their success.
Well said, gentlemen, and welcome to the family, Tyler. So with that, we'll head back to some questions. Jim Utter, you're next up in the queue, my friend. Go ahead.
Okay, so bear with me because my questions did get messed up because of the announcement.
You have to ask your original question, Jim. Whatever your original.
First, for Tyler, obviously recently it came out that your option was picked up at RCR. So for next year. So I was just curious, how long have you been contemplating your future, not specifically just with 2311, but in general as to what you wanted to do in exploring options beyond RCR?
Well, I see as a driver, you're always trying to focus on what's directly in front of you in that race weekend that lies ahead. But also, it takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of parts and pieces to go out and win. It takes a lot of parts and pieces to contend for championships. And so I feel like myself as a driver, those gears never really stop turning. I'm always thinking about what lies ahead, what the future looks like for me. And so, yeah, it's just the way I'm wired. You got to really think about a lot of things, short term, long term. So for me, it's just part of the way I think.
And for Denny or Steve, this might be one of the unanswered questions. Where will Tyler fit into the lineup? In a current car that you have, or an additional car, or TBD?
Who you want, Steve? Mirror you.
I'm sorry, I froze up. That is for sure, Jim, one of the unanswered questions,
okay.
Right? That's a big one that we will just get to work on now, and hopefully over time, with all those parts and pieces that I referenced, we'll be able to let everybody know what our plans are for the future.
Thank you,
Jim.
Finally, go ahead.
Yeah, my thing was this: is that I watched him. I raced against him. I wanted him, and I got him, and I didn't know anything else that goes along with that, right? And I, honestly, there's no hidden secrets here. We do not know who the sponsor will be. We do not know what car it is. It's all we know is we wanted him, and we made sure we planted our feet deep in the ground to make sure that Tyler was had an opportunity with this race team, and we made it happen.
And finally, for David, one of my original questions, you mentioned at the beginning about and Denny's mentioned it, about the inconsistency this season, but it appears to me that's not exactly an unfamiliar problem across all the manufacturers in general. You still have to address it, obviously, but do you find that as a common issue this season with the next gen car, that people seem to be, in general, really good at times, and at other times they just aren't anywhere close?
Yeah, very much so, Jim. This is, I try and think of it in a positive light. It is kind of fun, as an engineer, as being engineering centric, to help solve this puzzle. But it's becoming less fun every week as we continue to be inconsistent. So, but no one is immune to it. Certain organizations, certain OEMs seem to be maybe a little further out front, but this is the type of challenge that really tests your mettle, and I love that, because I know we have some of the best folks in the sport, and we'll figure it out.
Thank you very much, guys, and great surprise.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Next, we'll go to Bob Hawkers. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I guess for Steve or Denny, are both Bubba and Kurt signed through 2023 then?
And no changes on our side for 23, as I said. So the focus is really squarely on 24 and how we maximize the opportunity for the organization as a whole.
Okay, but are they through 20? Are neither of them signed for 2024?
Bob, we don't going to tell you details about our agreements.
All right. And for Tyler, did you have any discussions to try to get to 2311 for next year, and or any other discussions with any other organizations about 2024 and beyond?
Well, for me, my biggest thing with RCR is I got my first opportunity in a cup car with Richard and that team, and it's been great to grow with them. And for me, it was really important to finish what I had started there, see it through to its end. And they've, like I said, they've given me so many opportunities to win, opportunities to be a 2-time Xfinity champion, give me the door to get into the Cup Series, and I'm extremely grateful for that, and will continue to be. And then and expanding on that, that is why I wanted to see what I'd agreed to do with RCR to the end, and continue to compete as hard as I can for them and against Denny in 2311 until then.
Perfect. Thanks, gentlemen. Next, we'll go to Daniel McFadden. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hey, so I guess my first question for Tyler, since you just got your win, how do you keep this announcement from making things awkward in RCR over the next few years? Next year, I guess.
It's certainly, it's a challenging thing, but the one nice thing about it is I feel really strongly about the group that I work with. Everyone on that 8 team, we're a very close group. We are our bond and the way we work together as a team is unlike anything I've had. And so because of that, feel very confident. Echo here, but okay.
If everybody can just mute their lines and not talking, that would be great.
But yeah, I've been in a situation like this before when I was at Junior Motorsports. I knew I wasn't going to be coming back. Richard brought me in, and we were able to go out there and win a championship with Dave and Dale. So I've been through this before, and I believed a lot in that team. But I believe that much and more in the team that I currently have. So certainly it's not an easy thing to navigate, but we all believe in each other, and we're still going to go out there and do everything we can to win. I believe that in my team, and that's what our mindset and goals are going to be.
I think it's important too to add on to that, on the timing aspect. This allows us to get it out there, stop speculation. I'm sure from this point to the end, Tyler is going to get asked about 2024. It stops speculation. He doesn't have to tap dance around anything. We don't have to tap dance around anything, and it allows us to formally announce it today, and when we get to the racetrack this weekend, we part ways, and I'll see you in a year and a half. And that's kind of allows us to, like Steve said, to work on all the things that it's going to take to, field a race car for him. And so it gives us plenty of time, plenty of leadway, and it also allows Tyler to do his team right and fulfill his obligations to Richard, to Tori, and that whole group there and his team. It gives them a long enough runway that now they can, kind of work on their future as well.
Perfect. Daniel, did you have a follow-up? You're on mute if you did. Daniel, you're on mute. I don't think he's listening to me. We're going to jump ahead to Zach. I don't know if Daniel's having technical issues or not, so we'll jump ahead to Zach. Go ahead, Zach.
I didn't realize I was muted. I didn't know why I was muted. Denny, like you said, you've been watching him for a while. Was there any one instance over the last few years where, even though he's a two-time Xfinity Series champion and he's won races, where you were either racing with him or watching him where the light bulb went off? Was there any one moment you can remember?
Not one. It's been every time I've been on the racetrack with him. It's easy to spot talent when you got to go against it. I mean, I can tell you that it's much easier. But I mean, for me personally, it's some of the things he did in Xfinity really was amazing. And again, winning 2 championships with 2 different teams. I mean, seeing the way that he, was able to run the wall at Homestead, it's just, I mean, Larson-esque, right? And I've had my fair share of success around that track, but still, like, I can't compete with that. So it's, it made sense to me. It's like, you look at his age, his runway that he has, it, to me, when you have, franchise drivers don't come around that often. And so if there's ever one that you feel like you can grab, you go after it and you do whatever it takes to make that happen. And then you work on the details later.
All right. And I have one of my original questions I had before the announcement for David. David, I'm sure you're tired of talking about the whole Kyle Busch situation right now and his contract. I'm just curious in what you guys are doing with that. Is there like a red line? Is there like a drop dead date that Toyota has in mind for where you have to get the Kyle Busch thing done? And now he's on it.
David, you're on mute too.
David muted.
It's probably for the best.
Okay, we're all failing here. No, there's not an absolute when it comes to this issue, Daniel. It is,
Okay.
again, as we talked about, as the industry acknowledges, it's a tough sport, and sponsorship is critical to our long-term, success across the board. So we are working diligently, hand in glove with Joe and Coy and Dave Alpern and Kyle. Obviously, we're acting in good faith, and we're going to continue to do so, and we're just keeping our heads down.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you for your questions, Daniel. Next, we'll go to Zach. Just a quick reminder, because I do want to try to get through everybody. If you can keep it to 2 questions, I know that we shocked everybody. If you have more, just come back in the queue for us. That'd be great. So go ahead, Zach.
Well, first of all, Denny and Tyler, congratulations on the announcement there. For David and Steve, when I'm sure you guys are also tired of talking about the pit crew situation with the 23 team, and we saw the swap, of course, heading into Atlanta. How involved were either of you in those decisions? And there were a couple of miscues, obviously, that we saw with both of those crews on Sunday. Are you satisfied that this is the right move for both parties going forward?
All yours, Steve.
Yeah, look, everybody knows that the pit crews are Joe Gibbs Racing's, and we work hand in hand with them. Our competition group is having dialogue with them every day, and has been since the start of the season, to optimize, not only our 2 pit crews, but what they're doing for Denny's cars and the others over at JGR. So, we know there's still work to be done. I think they know there's still work to be done as everybody gets used to this new car and the challenges of the new wheels and pit stops, and we'll continue to make the best decisions we can with them to put all the 6 cars in the position to win races.
And then really for Denny and Tyler, this is more of a kind of in the moment question. There's 7 races left of the regular season, but this schedule has been pretty diverse across the board, which I would assume means a more limited notebook heading into the playoffs. How does that impact the approach as you get to those more critical races of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it is critical. We are starting to go back to some tracks for the second time, so you hope that your notebook gets better, and everyone's is going to get better. But I think as a manufacturer and a team at Joe Gibbs Racing and Toyota, we do a really good job of going back to racetracks and learning from the first time. So I'm really optimistic that when we go back to some tracks that we perhaps have struggled early in the year, that we fixed it. And I mean, one good example of that is Martinsville. I think I ran really about last all day, many laps down, and we've seen that before. We did that I think 2 years ago or something like that, and it was a new tire change. We came back there and pretty much dominated the fall race. So it's just, that's the way this thing works. You got to continue to work. Your champions aren't made on their good days. Anyone can go out there and have a great day and win and be happy, but it's how do you react and how do you go to work on your bad days? And I think that's what we do as an organization really well.
Yeah, for me, it hasn't necessarily been the concern about pace going back to some of these tracks. It was really nice to see when we went back to Atlanta that we were very similar to how we were the first time. But for us, on my end, it's just you never want to have huge mistakes or go through, just some of the things that we went through in a year. But when you spin it in a positive way, and the way that I like to look at it is we're getting a lot of these little, first time mistakes, issues with this new car out of the way. And it's allowing us to, I feel, be really in a good place, hardened and ready to go for the playoffs when they come around. Just the number of things that we've been put through has made all of us tougher. It's made me stronger, and it's made me a more well-rounded driver. I look at how we ran at COTA. We weren't off, but we weren't what we wanted. And those, being off in those areas there allowed us to bounce back and be really good at Sonoma and Road America. So I feel the same way about the issues that we have along the way. They're going to make us stronger, and I think it'll have us prepared for the playoffs.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Zach. Next, we'll go to Jordan Bianchi. Go ahead, Jordan.
Hey, a couple questions for me. This is for Tyler, I guess. Tyler, just want to make sure there is no, you are 100% driving for Richard Childress Racing next year. There's no scenario where you could end up with 2311 and 23.
As far as I know, and like I said, talking with RCR, next year is in place. We're gonna see it through together, and we're gonna go out and make the most of it, and try and win as many races and contend if we can for championships. We're gonna keep trying to grow together. We've come a long way together in the last couple of years, and we're just gonna keep working on what we have been, and hopefully find ourselves in contention to win.
Okay. And then the final questions for Danny. Danny, if the scenario presents itself, are you guys in a position to add a third full-time team in 24?
I mean, with 2 charters, no. But again, I think that we don't forecast that being the case for us. So I think we're pretty happy with where we're at right now with the couple cars that we have. And I don't foresee anything changing with that for 2023.
So no, so it's likely you guys are going to be a 2-car team then, and expansion's off the table.
All scenarios are always out there, but that's the most likely scenario.
Understood. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. Next, we'll go to Jeff Gluck. Go ahead, Jeff.
Tyler, RCR put out an announcement or a reaction, I guess, and they had said the timing of this announcement could not be any worse. Are you worried that you're going to have to navigate some hurt feelings over there, and I assume that judging from this, they maybe weren't too happy when you had to inform them of your decision.
Well, it's always a difficult thing whenever, two partners or two pieces, or, our relationship is going to come to an end. But, I feel like it gives everyone time to figure out what lies ahead, what is the next step, where do we go from here. So for me, and in my opinion, I feel like this is it's better to do it now than in the playoffs. It's better to do it now than there's no reason to kick the can down the road. We know what lies ahead, and we now all know what's in front of us and what we need to do.
Jeff, did you have a follow-up or just the one question?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Next we'll go to Jerry Jordan. Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay, so, sorry, I've been thrown off as well by all of this. To whoever would be the best to answer this, along those lines of what Jeff was saying, you're going to be a lame duck next year at an RCR. What is the business side of these type of decisions, and how does that affect you mentally, financially, behind the wheel, whatever, of all of those things, be it from Denny's side or Toyota's side or your side alone, Tyler?
For me, nothing changes. My commitment to the team is as strong as it has ever been. If I'd almost argue that now that I know the window that I have with them has an end, I feel like I have even more pressure on myself to give them everything I have with the time that we have left, and that lies ahead. We have two opportunities to go out and have great years. We have the rest of this year, we have next year. For me, nothing changes. I'm going to keep giving RCR everything I have, and it's good to know what lies ahead in 2024 and on.
And Jerry, I'll just add that from Toyota's perspective, from an OEM perspective, we're doing this the right way. We're treating all involved parties with a tremendous amount of sensitivity and respect, as we've said over and over again. We're ripping the Band-Aid off now, and we're celebrating the future that we know is coming. But we're going to get back down to business and not let this be a distraction.
Yeah, Jerry, that question reminds me of a famous quote from my old boss, Chip Ganassi, who always said, "This is the life we've chosen." Right. And you get good things, and you get bad things, and you get surprises, and you get things you can play. That we have to, in this business, you're always reacting to these kind of things, and they're not always on your timeline, and they're not always, positive, and everybody puts their head down and just reacts to it. And in this case, thankfully, we have the time to react in a way that we are not chasing a shortened time frame, but we've got a little more lead time, which for 2311 and Denny and I, and it's the first time we've been able to do that. So it's a good place for us to be in.
Okay, and Danny, I have a follow-up for you. Kurt turns 34 next month. That's a pretty old. He's probably going to get mad at me, but that's pretty old for a driver. But when you look at that, has he talked about his exit plan from 2311? Because I think this is kind of where he wants to finish his career.
Yeah, and he will. There's no question about that. We're going to have Kurt, as long as Kurt wants to be a race car driver, we want to have him. So that's pretty much the end of that. And then once he's done driving, he's going to have a nice, cushy office job at 2311. So he's going to be part of our future well beyond his driving days. So we constantly are in dialogue with him on what his plans are. But ultimately, you never know. Things could change, and Kurt could want to race till he's 48 years old. If he does, then we're going to field a car for him.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jerry. Next, we'll go back to Claire B. Go ahead, Claire.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I was happy to get the first question until Tyler popped into the room. And so I appreciate the follow-up. Tyler, you're really good, because a week and a half ago, I think, we were asking you in the scrum at the racetrack about your contract. And I had heard, well, get out there and talk to him, because one of the reporters said you were mentioning it. And you told me when I went and found you, oh, that's old news. It's a done deal. It's no big deal. In your mind, I guess none of us were thinking about this option. And I'm sure you surprised Richard with it. It's sort of a shock move. Did anybody expect it? Did Richard see it coming, or did everyone just think about, okay, we got him, he's good? Richard seemed to think, because he made a comment too, that, you were good, but only for a year.
Yeah, we had talked about the 2023, and they were going to fulfill their option a while ago, and it was kind of a done deal. It getting brought back up at Road America was a bit surprising, because it had been in place. But obviously with the news today, we know where I'm going to be in 2024 and on. And I wouldn't say this was it shouldn't have been a total shock to RCR. As we were navigating what the future would look like a while ago, we said that after the option was up in 23 and 24 and on, we were not sure that a while ago, we were not sure if we were going to return, and that we were going to figure out what lied ahead. So this shouldn't have been a true shock to them. But it's out there, and everyone has the information now, and now we all will collectively figure out what do we do going from here.
Real quickly, when did you first start thinking, well, I'm signed, but I could go somewhere else in 24? When did this all kind of come into mind,
I kind of answered this a little bit earlier. I feel like you always focus on what lies directly ahead in the race weekend that's in front of you. Whether in this situation it's Loudon, but for me, I feel like it's just the way my mind works. I'm always thinking about what lies ahead. I just think it's important to always be thinking about everything, short term and long term. So for me, just those gears never really stop turning. I'm always thinking about what is the smartest move that lies ahead in the years to come.
Thank you so much. And Lisa, thanks for the follow-up. I appreciate it. All right.
Anytime, Claire. Thank you. We'll head to Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Thank you. And this is for whoever wants to take it, but certainly there seem to be a number of driver deals that are going to be up after 2023. How much of a factor did that play in making the move at this point? Because certainly there seem to be a lot of teams and a lot of drivers that could be moving around and trying to get ahead of things.
For me.
Yeah, getting ahead of things is precisely what we're doing. Like we talked about, we haven't really had a team that we were able to know about and work on building in advance. And for us, it's, we need to get him funded. And now we can openly have conversations with potential sponsors who want to be a part of his future. So I think that that's why it's obviously important for us. And, there's just a lot that goes into, bringing on someone new to a team. And for us, this gives us enough headway that, it makes the process a bit easier to just get it out and talk about it, and then close that book until it's time to reopen it. So that's the most important thing. And I think that all of our partners, including Toyota, thought that this is the right timing for all involved.
I guess what I meant, forgive me, is just if you felt like with the crowded market, with so many drivers out there and so many teams potentially looking for drivers in 2023 that needed to just strike now. I understand that the reasoning for the organization, but to get who you wanted, this is something we certainly don't see in the sport that often. And I'm just curious if it was as much motivated by what the market could be in 2023, and if you waited, maybe losing out.
Yes, you answered all the questions yourself, but the answer in short is yes. There are a lot of free agents in end of 23, and if you can strike while the iron's hot, then you strike. And for my standpoint, it's not unprecedented, but it is rare. But in my mind, so is Tyler. So you act accordingly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dustin. Before we go to Bob, I know Lee Spencer has had some technical issues, but she did send me a couple questions, so I wanted to get her questions in before we run out of time. Her first question was, David, for you. Did TRD use the sports car platform to dial in the new car specific to road course racing based on your initial comments?
I wish it were that easy, but it's not. This is different. Physics and aerodynamics apply universally. Certainly we have some experience with sports car racing, and we're leaning on all of our resources right now. But again, if it were that easy, we would be better than we are.
Perfect. In her second question, I believe, Denny, this could be for you or for Steve, with reference to the new pit stop choreography with the single lug, and obviously we've seen the choreography in work and play. Would you deem that to have been a help or a hindrance at this point?
It's honestly tough for me to say because, I'm not there every single day watching pit stop practice and hearing and watching some of the struggles that they might be having. But I trust that Joe Gibbs Racing's putting their best foot forward and trying to do their best to work all this out. And so I'm sure they're looking at all their options to try to figure out what's the best way to navigate this car and pit stops going forward. They've got a great group there. They've got great facilities where they train these guys. And so in the end, I think it's probably going to be a long game, but you just never know where this thing ends up. But obviously we're going through some growing pains now.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll go back to Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I hope maybe you can shed some light on this question. This release just says 2024, but I don't think anybody signs a driver like Tyler for just 1 year. So can anybody say if this is a multi-year deal?
It's a multi-year deal.
Okay. And for Tyler, there's a lot of reasons to potentially have waited to sign with somebody. There's going to be a lot of teams looking. The new TV deal potentially could give you a better idea of what teams are getting. And you could potentially win a lot more races between now and next year. Why was it important to get this deal done? I mean, did 2311 just give you something that you couldn't refuse? Or were you like, man, I just want to get this decision over with?
Well, for me, just seeing where 2311 has started and where they're going, it's been very obvious to me that the ramp that they're on and how they're improving, it was very exciting for me. And I wanted to be a part of that. Also, I look at, just for me, just talking to Denny and getting to watch and see the direction the team was going, where Toyota is and their commitment to the sport, to NASCAR, to this team, they're all very exciting things. And I really wanted to be a part of it. And that heavily influenced my decision.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. We'll go back to Zach. Go ahead, Zach.
Tyler, I guess along those lines, had you spoken to any other teams yet about your future past 23, or was this a situation where Denny's emphasized at this point how badly he wanted you as a part of this program, and you highlighted your excitement about the team, but were there any other conversations about what your future could have been?
I definitely think there was interest out there, but again, I was extremely interested in 2311 and just what I'd seen, the conversations I'd had. I was very excited about this opportunity, and this was where I wanted to be, and this is where I will be.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. We'll go back to Daniel McFadden. Go ahead, Daniel.
All right. I apologize if you guys have actually answered this. I've already forgotten, but can you say when the first conversation about this took place? Like how far back or how recently it occurred?
I don't think there was ever one date in which we broached the conversation. It was all very casual stuff. We obviously work together and we do driver intros, and you casually have conversations back and forth. But I think that I probably asked for permission from those who are my bosses, such as David Wilson and other guys, Steve Loletta, with this race team, and ask for their permission to approach this to inquire about his future. I don't know honestly a specific date, but we've been talking for a very, very long time. I mean, a year, but that doesn't mean that's when we start talking about contracts or anything like that.
Okay. And David,
I
oh, sorry.
I admit I rode up the elevator with Tyler. He probably doesn't even remember it.
I
But
remember.
I rode up in the elevator at the Clash in the Coliseum, coincidentally, and that was when I knew the deal was done. Kidding.
You saw what I was eating, right? And that told you I was eating one of those ridiculous torchy hot dogs or whatever. Just got done with my heat race, and I was running up the elevator to watch from up top, and I'm just downing this ridiculous looking hot dog. That was the selling point, right?
Exactly. Like, we can work with that.
All right, and David, one of my other original questions. They had the Goodyear tire test at Martinsville a few weeks back, and I know they tried some different setups when it came to the short track package. So I guess from Toyota's perspective, what are you anticipating being done in regards to the short track stuff going forward to improve that product?
Well, I think we're gonna get a little glimpse of it this weekend in Loudon, because I would, again, acknowledge, Denny already did, that we weren't very sporty at Martinsville the first time, and as Denny pointed out, one of the things that we pride ourselves in is learning and applying those learnings to when we go back. So, this is, again, such a dynamic environment with us hitting new tracks for the first time, more weekends than not. So we're pushing on everything, and the reality is with this new car, it's not just one thing, and that's why we're seeing some teams, some manufacturers hit it one week and not the next. The other thing that I'll say, and I've talked a lot about this, is we're starting to also appreciate how much more important basic racecraft is. It's execution in pit lane by the drivers, by the teams. It's strategy. I contend we've given a couple of races away because of strategy. And with this new car, I think the future and the differentiation between championship caliber organizations and not are going to be wrapped around some of these things that I just mentioned. Speed obviously is a given, but that box that we have to work in to find speed is smaller than it used to be. So every single aspect becomes more important. But I'll say that the two drivers on this call are still going to be the most important aspect of differentiation, and we've got two really good drivers here still in our future.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. We'll go back to Jordan. Go ahead, Jordan.
This question's for Denny or Steve. Any planned negotiations with Bubba Wallace about a contract extension?
Yeah, I mean, look, Bubba was the foundation we built this team on, and we have plans for him to be part of the 2311 family for a long time. We've got a lot of progress that we've made this year. We haven't delivered for him in every instance that we could as a team, to David's point about how it takes everything. And there's been a few times that, he would tell you that the responsibility lies on him, like in every driver team scenario. So our partners are as engaged as they ever have been with him and this team, as well as Kurt and the 45. So again, this is really about what we can do with a talented driver like Tyler Reddick joining this organization to continue down that 5-year path of being a front-running organization week in and week out, trying to get to the last race of the season and win a championship.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. And we will go ahead and close it out with Dustin. Go ahead, Dustin.
Thank you. David, in years past, when Toyota often has added a driver, it's been a more veteran presence. Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, and even Martin Truex. And now with Tyler, you have the potential in 2024, maybe have 4 of your drivers, and I'm including Ty Gibbs in the Cup Series, as being in that 30 or under range, and kind of guys where you could have for a decade or more. I understand the talent and the belief in Tyler, but what does it mean from an organizational standpoint, manufacturer standpoint, to have potentially some younger drivers, whereas in the past you've lost some of those younger drivers coming up through your system?
That's a great question, Dustin, and I'll say that it really can't be overstated how important it is. It seems like just the other day that we had the stable of 20-something-year-old drivers, and the future looked unlimited. But we all know that is a moment in time, and that if you are not intentional about securing your future, about securing your foundation as an OEM, as a race team, then you're going to get behind all too quickly. So it feels great to lower that average with Tyler, knowing that he's coming, and obviously we're not done yet, and our commitment to the development of young driver athletes will continue moving forward, and we'll continue having an eye on this, and ultimately, again, I've been pretty candid that we'd still like to see a couple more Toyota race cars on track, and I don't have anything to add beyond that desire, but we're having a lot of great conversations, and we're excited about the future. I'll leave it at that.
And Denny, with your experience, certainly we've seen in other sports, like let's say F1, where it's a very young driver lineup, and it's trended younger through the years. And I understand what Lewis has been able to do, but how much do you see the sport trending younger, and especially from the beginning of your career to even now, how it's changed in a focus on it, or is there more of a value and the challenge? Look, there's certainly some veteran drivers like yourself that are still making things happen, but how much more challenging is that getting to be as the sport seems to trend younger?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the sport is trending younger. The winners, if you look at the average age, is probably starting to shift down slightly. A lot of the advantages that we had as seasoned veterans is that we were in the same race car for many, many years. So when a young driver came up from another series, they were getting in a car that we had been in for years and years and years, and we had been on those tracks, and we acquired an amount of information that they just could not duplicate in any way except for through experience. And now, especially with this car, we're all learning. I mean, I've been in the sport for 18 years now, and I go to a racetrack, and you cannot attack it the same way as what you used to in the past, so you're having to adapt, which is why I think you're seeing some of the younger guys having the success that they've had, is that they've got a fresh mindset anyway. They have no preconceived notions of how you need to enter the corner at this particular racetrack. So I think that trend probably will continue into the future.
Thank you.